As a new coach, Instagram is definitely a platform that you want to learn to monetize. I'll be honest, when I first started my coaching journey, I really focused a lot of my attention on Facebook because it seemed like the easiest platform to use. And looking back, I missed out on a lot of connections, a lot of opportunities to impact people, and definitely income by not learning Instagram sooner. But don't worry, you don't have to overwhelm yourself or wonder all the tips and tricks and hacks and ins and outs of Instagram. Today, I'm going to share the top 3 ways that you can maximize your reach on Instagram. Now, before I dive into exact strategies, there are a couple things that should go without being said, but I definitely want to reference them just in case. First things first, make sure you have a business profile account with Instagram and make it public so that anyone is able to see it. The last thing you want to do is have people go through too many hoops to see what it is that you have to share. You also want to make sure that you have a clear profile picture that really shows your face and who you are, and you want to make sure that your bio is pretty laid out, referencing exactly what it is that you do as a coach. The first way to maximize Instagram is to use hashtags. Really cool fact that most people don't know is you can use up to 10 hashtags in your stories and up to 30 hashtags on a post, on a reel, or on a live. So definitely maximizing your hashtags. When you use hashtags, you have the opportunity for a new and expansive audience to get an opportunity to connect with you and see what you have to offer. So it's important that you're really using them. Now, the question that I often get as it relates to hashtags is, how do you know which hashtags to use? And that's a great question. The first way that I go about creating hashtags for my posts is I look at other accounts that are similar to mine and I see what hashtags they're using. And then I create a list of hashtags that really relate and resonate with my audience. So I don't just go to someone's page and then copy their hashtags exactly as is. I look and see which ones really speak to my audience, and then I keep a list of different hashtags that I like to use. The good thing is I'll usually keep about 3 to 4 different hashtags of 30 sets of hashtags that I'll rotate through, and it helps me to see which ones are helping my engagement and which ones aren't. And then I'm constantly changing them as new hashtags are being created or utilized. The second way that I go about creating hashtags is I put myself in the mind of my ideal client. So I'll think about, what are they struggling with? What are their problems? What are the results that they're looking for? And as I think of all of these things, I start to think of key words or phrases that my ideal client would use. So for example, when I was studying human design, I would have a lot of people ask me, how do I find a human design reader or someone who can analyze my chart? And so as I was thinking of that, I began to look up hashtags related to it. And I came up with 2 hashtags, human design reader and human design analyst. It's really simple, but considering what your ideal client is looking for, putting yourself in their shoes and then crafting a strategy around that definitely works. So after you think about those keywords or phrases that come to mind as it relates to your ideal client, start researching them and see, are these hashtags that are being reviewed, referenced, or looked at regularly? And if so, definitely consider putting them in your loop of hashtags that you also would like to use as well. The second way to maximize Instagram is to show up consistently. The biggest mistake I see coaches make is that they show up once in a blue moon. And let's be honest, when you show up randomly, your results are going to reflect that as well. If someone's considering buying with you because you've been showing up and then all of a sudden you fall off, do you think that they're going to trust you and take that next step? Most likely not. So what I like to tell my coaches to do is show up regularly, but more importantly, show up in a lot of creative ways. So show up on lives, show up using reels, show up on your stories, and show up by posting. And the reason that this is important is because you're meeting your audience where they're at. Some people really resonate and love stories. Some people really resonate and think reels are hilarious. Some people really resonate and just like going and scrolling and reading through their timeline. That's okay, but when you have a lot of different content offers, you're meeting your client wherever they're at. Not to mention, you being super active on Instagram is also going to boost the algorithm so that you can get seen in front of more people. So definitely find creative ways that you can show up. And honestly, you don't have to overcomplicate it. You could literally repurpose something. So let's say, for example, you share 3 tips to overcoming anxiety as a coach. Then you decide that you're going to do a live about how to overcome anxiety as a coach. And then right after that, you do a reel where you kind of point to a couple different tips. It's the same idea. You're repurposing content, but it's a great way to meet your audience in a lot of creative new ways and exactly where they're at, depending on what their preference is. Finally, the third tip is to be active. So, in order to be active, you can't just get on, post, and then hop off. A lot of times people will do that because they don't want to get stuck in the black hole of scrolling. But set a timeline so that when you know when to get off or get on, but make sure that you're engaging. This is so important. So go to people's pages that would be your ideal client, engage with them. Go to people's pages who you admire that maybe are in alignment with what it is that you're doing as a coach, and engage with them as well. The algorithm on Instagram really loves that. And the more active you are, the more opportunities people have an opportunity or chance to be able to see you. The way in which I like to get active on Instagram is called a 3-2-1 strategy. So every day I post, and every day I do the 3-2-1. So I do 3 likes, 2 comments, and 1 share. And the reason that I like to do this is because, again, it helps me to kind of stay in line with my engagement, but I also end up finding a ton of inspirational content, and I get to connect with new people. Now, that's just my strategy. I'm not at all telling you that this is something you have to do, but you're going to want to create a strategy that works for you, for your schedule, as well as for your audience. And then the best thing you can do with that goes along with step number 2 that I mentioned before, is make sure that you're being consistent. Here's the thing, Instagram is an absolutely amazing tool when you use it appropriately. So don't skip out on it. Don't let it overwhelm you or frustrate you. Dig into it, practice using it, and before you know it, you'll love it just as much as I do now. If you're looking for more tools and more strategies and more support on your aspiring coach journey, and you're ready to not only increase your income and your impact, I have just the thing for you. If you use the link below, you can get access to my totally free Get Your Next Paid Client Now bundle, where I walk you through the process to not only increase your magnetism, but to increase your overall success by getting your next paid client now. So use the link below, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.